I'm not going to be as funny as Hussein, but I have a question for you. How many people wish I drop dead so you leave by 5? I hope not. Oh, see? So many hands. I'll try to make it as informative and entertaining as possible. How many have seen the post that Subhi had put on LinkedIn for the OCM position, Organizational Change Management? Okay. So that's a position more of a specialized nature. And when I asked how many people actually have applied for the position, it was a staggering 951 people have actually applied for that position, and that's a specialized position. If it was a position of a more generic nature, probably that number you could multiply by 4. What does this mean? There's a lineup of people on the outside waiting to be on the inside. So I just want you to think, and that's going to make you feel good. Just, you're sitting in your office doing your job, there's 1,000 people lining up because they want to, as soon as you decide to walk out, there's a lineup of people wanting to come in, and they will have to go through the dreaded interview. Now, the interview isn't very pleasant. I usually pride myself into doing good interviews. I think I know what they ask and I know what to reply. Until 10 years ago, I had my interview with Mr. Ziad. And he asked me this: Louei, tell me something special about you. I'm dynamic, I'm motivated. He stops me and he says, almost everybody who was in your seat said the exact same thing. Tell me something special about you. I have an MBA, which IBM Canada paid for. He stops me again and he says, the norm now is people have MBAs. Tell me something special about you. And frankly, I was frustrated. I didn't know what to think. So I asked him, Mr. Ziad, please tell me what you have in mind. And he said, I asked someone to tell me something special about them, and they said, I once ran a marathon. Now, when somebody runs a marathon, that tells me so much about the competitive nature of the person. Results-driven, project-driven. And he went on and on to tell me what it actually meant to run a marathon. So now, Louei, tell me something special about you. I was the lead counselor for 50 youth that we took them on a yearly basis from London, Ontario, Canada, 7 hours away to the capital city of Canada, and we spent 1 week with them in nature trying to make them men. And he said, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And he went on to tell me what he actually learns from this about me. So having to go through an interview isn't really something that's very pleasant, but we are on the inside, which means, and it's in line with what Hussein had said, with what Subhi had said, we are special. I am special to be here. You are special to be here. So we are. And in the spirit of 2022, I want to draw the analogy of a football team. So simply, you have different roles and responsibilities. You have 11 players, different roles and responsibilities, aiming to score, so everyone has the exact same mission. There should be no element of selfishness because it doesn't matter who scores. The one score counts for everyone, so extremely important. But the question becomes, who's the most important player on the field? Is it the attacker? Yes, they're the ones who score. Is it the defender? Yes, they're the ones who protect our lines from the opposition. Is it the goalie? Yes, they're actually the last point of defense before the opposition gets into my net. Or maybe is it the person sitting on the side? Yes, if somebody gets injured, they have to replace them. So they are most important. I look at GBM and I say, is it the LOB, line of business? Yes. With the technologies that we have to take to our clients, they are. Or is it the account management team? Yes, they are. With the relationships that we have with our clients, or is it when we bind our proposals with Riaz? Yes, or is it when we drive the proposals? I'm going to say also yes. So what's the message? Simply, you are as strong as an organization as the weakest link. So it's in my best interest to make sure I have no weak links. As Jack Welch says, I look to my right, I look to my left, and I'm supposed to support the people because it's not about me. It used to be about me at one point, and that's why I'm in a leadership position. Now it's about the people I lead. So I look to my right, to my left, and I take them with me as I climb up the ladder. We are as strong as the weakest link. Now, what makes a great team? This would be boring if I go into talking, it's going to be communication, of course, knowledge and sharing, creativity, knowing when to pass the ball and to whom, of course. Resilience, it's the beginning of 2020, and we have the whole year ahead of us, so we have to have resilience. We're going to have a lot of wins, and we will have a lot of opportunity to learn from losses. We don't say losses, we say we learn from these losses. And focus. As Subhi was saying, we need to be focused on 2020 and what is the message. We have to have that focus. But allow me to bring in 3 examples. Jumping into conclusion is something that we have to be careful with. Why? Because we make the wrong decision when we jump into conclusion. And the only way to mitigate this is to ask clarifying questions. I'll give you an example. This watch served me for 3 years. I had no issues whatsoever. 2 weeks ago, I wake up, I try to turn it on or to touch the screen, and nothing happens. It's not working. And I'm thinking, what a piece of crap. 3 years. It served me for I haven't had a single issue, and the one time it did not work, I said, what a piece of crap. And soon to discover that actually I just turned it off the night before, and it was perfectly fine. I just had to turn the watch back on. So when we jump into conclusion, we could make the wrong choice. And the way to make sure we don't do this is by asking questions. People, don't jump into conclusion by assuming he wanted me to fail. Go ahead and ask and clarify. The second point I want to mention is setting people up for success, not for failure. If we have a proposal which is due in a month, and I come to you on the last day and I say, how can I help you? It means I'm only looking to point fingers of blame at the end. But if I come to you 2 weeks in advance, and I ask you, how are we tracking against the deadline? That means I'm aiming to be successful with all of us. So we still have time to do something about it. And by the way, Brian McCauley, my manager from IBM Canada, taught me something amazing. He said, treat every relationship like a bank account. You have to deposit before you can withdraw. So make sure that you've done sufficient deposits with your colleagues, with your clients, with your management. So when it's time to go ahead and say, I'd like to withdraw, there's sufficient funds in the account. And the last point I want to mention is this. They're trying to draw a straight line, and the person did not even bother to remove the branch. Why? Because they said, it is not my job. So we need to eliminate the it's not my job from the dictionary to make sure that think on the football field, if someone throws you the ball and you happen to be standing not where you're supposed to, do you just let it go and say it's not my job? Or do you take it and you try to score? It's not my job should be taken out of our dictionary. Now, we're all heading in the same direction. We don't look behind, all of us. And the animal called antelope, anyone knows the antelope? Okay, it's in Arabic, al-dhabi. The speed of the antelope is actually 82 kilometers per hour. Yet it gets hunted by the hunting dogs. Speed, 72. Who can tell me why? Endurance? Good answer. Sorry? Exactly. It looks back. It catches only the ones that look back. Great answer, because that's exactly what happens. If they're focused on where they are going, it makes a huge difference. And I look at this when it comes to competition. If I'm looking at my competition like this, I have a problem. I'm planning to be the next Kodak. Why? Because I'm following their footsteps. Look what they did. I need to do the same. No good. If I look at them like this, okay. If I look at them like this, that's great. That means I'm ahead of the game. So very important to make sure that we're all heading in the same direction. The second point, communication. As we know where we're going, as we're working with partners and clients, We have to talk. We have to communicate. So we build relationships. What is the essence of relationship, which I'm going to take the next few minutes to talk about, is this: trust. How many people have heard of The Public Goods Game by Dr. Dan Ariely? Amazing. I'm just going to walk you through this. It's so interesting because you have 10 people and they are given $10 each. At the end of the day, there's a common pool. And think of it as society. Think of it as GBM. You have the option to put whatever amount you want in the common pool. This is how you give back to society, for example. So let me walk you through what happens. At the end of the night, whatever is in the pool, it gets multiplied by 5 and evenly divided between everyone. So let me tell you how it works. 10 people, $10. Everybody pulls their weight. Everybody does what they're supposed to do. So now we have 100 in the pot. I go ahead and I multiply by 5. The number is 500. Great. I go ahead, end of day, I have divided to everyone equal share, so everyone gets 50. The outcome is when everybody does his share, we all win and everyone is happy. Until one day, I don't even come up with a name for this idiot, but one person decided not to do anything. Did not pull his weight, betrayed. Simply, you can think of it, they betrayed the trust. So did not put the money in. Instead of 100 now, we have 90 in the public or the common pool. We go ahead, we multiply by 5. Instead of 500, we have now 450. We divide by everyone. Everybody gets 45, not 50, with the exception of who? The idiot that we just talked about, because he actually has 55, he kept his 10. The question becomes, what happens the following day? The pool is empty. This is how fragile the system is. The equilibrium actually just falls out of place the minute the person decides to betray the trust. And this becomes a major issue. When you don't pull your weight, you're not affecting only yourself, you're affecting everyone. And these guys have done one of the most, or the longest, and the most comprehensive studies on leadership, Posner and Kosis. They went across 3 decades asking people, what do you look for in a leader? And all leaders, what do you look for in followers? And the answers every year, across 3 decades, across continents, across everything, came back with 2 things: credibility and honesty. Do you think these are trust? Yes. What's the definition of trust? Making yourself vulnerable to someone. Being or willing to take a risk on a transaction with someone. So let me give you an example. You go to Apple website, and how many people have read the 229 pages license contract when you go on iTunes before you click I accept? Nobody. Yourself? You have? You haven't. So probably he's the only person who knows. Absolutely. But you were willing to make yourself vulnerable to Apple. You were willing to take a risk on Apple. And this has a lot of benefit. Because if society has no trust, we have to put a lot of measures and mechanisms to make sure that lack of trust is actually mitigated. If there's no trust, if you're not willing to make yourself vulnerable, you wouldn't go on a plane. You don't know the pilot. On Qatar Airways, for example, you wouldn't even open a can of Coke and you drink what's the inside. You don't know what's on the inside. But when we have trust, there's a lot of benefit to society. Now, our propensity to trust is different from one person to the other. And the propensity could be the way we were raised, the community where we came from. But let's be clear on what drives that propensity for trust. There are drivers. And this doesn't take long. The first one is ability. And Subhi, you've mentioned numerous times about the skills and the certifications that we have. This simply means the competence. If I have the competence, my customers are likely to transact with me if I can show that I have the skills. But skills alone, not enough. I have to have care. And this shows care. When we say 30 years in the market, delivering successful projects, this shows I care. Because if there's no care and I have only skills, I'm a thief. Why am I saying this? Because if I'm skillful at picking locks and I can go into people's homes and I steal them, I don't really care much for them. Is there trust? No. It has to be the competence, it has to be the care. And the last one is integrity. And integrity simply means that the values in society that we all believe in, we actually put it into action. We all believe honesty is a good thing. So if I say I am honest and I deliver on this promise of being honest, then I have integrity. These are the three drivers of trust. Warren Buffett says, if you're looking to hire people, and you've seen the lineup of people waiting on the outside wanting to come into GBM, we hire for integrity, he said, for knowledge, and also for energy. Yes, so intelligence and energy. So he said if the first one does not exist, then the other two will kill you. Why is he saying that? Because the other two, you could be heading in the opposite direction to the organization. You're going against what integrity tells you to do. So these two could kill you. And also, it may take 20 years to build a reputation or trust, but it could be gone in 5 minutes. And if you know this, you probably will begin to do things differently. I'm going to leave you with this to read, but I just want you to think on a daily basis when you wake up in the morning. Just to think, what am I doing today that would drive people to be more trusting of me? Do I have sufficient skills? Do I have competence? Do I have care for my clients, for my colleagues, for the partners I work with? Have I delivered on integrity that we all believe in? And once we all bring this top of mind for all of us, we could then become very, very successful. Thank you very much.